Hello and welcome back to Formula 1 2019 on the TomFM channel. Today we have got the Austrian Grand Prix coming up for you, which is another really strong race of mine, but we need to have a better showing than we did in our 4th place in France last time out. As you can see, we are still 5th in the drivers' standings on 88 points, 10 points behind Sebastian Vettel, 11 points behind Devon Butler, but quite a big gap between us, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, the top 2 drivers, which is quite frustrating, and we are miles down, over 100 points behind the Mercedes team in the constructors' standings. So as we start to approach the halfway point of the season, we really need to start getting some race wins under our belt and getting some serious points on the board. Luckily for us, just before we get into the Austrian Grand Prix, we've had 3 car upgrades come through and they've all been completed, which is really top quality. So hopefully we're going to see some massive improvements here in Austria. As you can see, we are still the top rated vehicle on the vehicle performance comparison chart, but Mercedes and Ferrari still seem to be a little bit faster than us in straight lines, and that is due to our down on engine. Our engine just isn't as powerful as the Mercedes or the Ferrari engine, but 2 of those upgrades have gone towards the engine. So hopefully we're going to see a bit of an upgrade. If we click in here towards the engine, we can see that actually, according to those upgrades, we now have the most powerful engine in the game, which I still feel isn't quite right. We'll have to see what happens, obviously, but I'm not convinced we've got the best engine in the game, even after all those upgrades. Hopefully we do actually have a really good engine, but I just can't quite see it happening, and I just don't think it's going to happen. But obviously, we've got the race coming up, and that will tell us the real truth. As we head into qualifying, I think I'm going to increase the top speed of the car just a little bit. I think that's maybe going to be a sensible thing to do. There's not too many corners in Austria. I think it's a relatively downforcey track, but there's not too many corners. I feel like we can make up some speed on the straight. So we're going to move it up to slightly increased top speed car setup. As per usual, we're leaving it pretty late in Q1 to set our lap times. To get into Q2, we need to beat a 108.6, which should be relatively easy, I think, beating George Russell's time there. So fingers crossed we get that done. So as we're about to start our flying lap here in Austria, I do feel like this is one of my strongest tracks. I really enjoy it. I think I've played it probably the most, actually. I used to do a lot of online stuff with some more other Football Manager creators. We used to play a lot of this Formula 1 game. And for some reason, Austria was always the track that seemed to came up when we used to race it with each other. So that was quite interesting. Thankfully, I feel like I won a majority of those races, I'd say. That's maybe me being a bit too ambitious there. But I think I won quite a few of them. And it was probably one of my best tracks on the game. So I'm looking forward to setting a good lap here in qualifying and hopefully getting ourselves back on pole position. As we come around the final few corners of this lap, then you can see that Max Verstappen is actually currently on top of the standings in Q1 here, which is very good for us. He's our teammate, obviously, so it's a good sign for our car. We cross the line just faster than him with a 106.6 to go provisional pole in Q1. If we want to get on pole for the actual race, we have to do it in Q3, and to get into Q3 we have to get past Q2, and to do that we need to get into the top 10 of Q2. So at the moment a 108.3 is the time we need to beat. We blitzed that in Q1, so hopefully we'll be able to do it now and get ourselves well into Q3. And by looks of things, I reckon we're going to get into Q3. We've set a very fast Sector 1 there. Not quite the fastest, but it's still a pretty fast Sector 1 there. Way above the times I think needed to get into the top 10. So I'm pretty confident. I think we're very fast in Sector 2, this Red Bull car. I think it's very well suited, as we have a bit of a slide there actually on that corner there. I just hit the curb a little bit. It doesn't matter too much because we do go fastest through Sector 2. We set a purple Sector 2, but I'm squirming all over the place there, really not handling those corners very well. I'm going to blame talking to you for the reason that I've not handled those corners very well. Hopefully though, it gets us into Q3. That's all we need to do. Make sure we're in the top 10. It doesn't matter about being on pole. As long as we're in the top 10, that's fine. But we do actually get onto pole once again with a slightly slower lap than the lap we set in Q1. But we're still in the top 10. We're going through to Q3. And now, if we want to get onto pole position in Q3, Max Verstappen's currently got a 106.6. I think we can beat that on a very good lap. We've got 5 minutes left of the session. So, of course, Verstappen, Vettel, Butler, they could all set times again. But I'm pretty confident we can go out there and set a blistering lap to get pole position. We need to beat a 16.4 in the first sector to get the fastest time, and we do. We beat it by 0.1 seconds, which is already really good. We know Sector 2 is already our fastest sector of the entire lap because we keep setting purple sectors in Sector 2. So this is already a fantastic opportunity for us to get on pole position, which I'm really looking forward to doing. If we can get on pole position, surely, like Canada, the race is going to be sorted for us and we can go out and win it, which would be really good. As we come around this corner into Sector 2, as we see the end of the sector line there, is it going to be purple in Sector 2? It's another purple in Sector 2. We're up by 0.7 seconds. Absolutely phenomenal right now from this Red Bull car. The engine upgrades that we've done are absolutely incredible. They really are helping. I was so sceptical looking at that chart, but the engine upgrades have helped us out so much. And as we come down the main straight, we get the lap done in a 105.6. We are on pole position. There is no way any other car is getting that time. And as we count down the final few seconds of the session, we are on pole position with a 105.6. Max Verstappen joins us on the front row with a 106.4 in the end, but we are 0.6 seconds ahead of him, and we are over a second faster than third place Sebastian Vettel, Devon Butler in fourth, Charles Leclerc fifth, Hamilton down in sixth, which is really good for us. If he can stay in sixth and we win the race, that's going to be very good for our World Championship hopes. As we look at the weather forecast for the race though, it looks like we're going to be starting off in wet conditions, which isn't ideal because from what I remember reading, before one of the patches came in, the AI were rubbish in the rain, but now I think they've upgraded it and the AI are really, really good in the rain. So actually, all the hard work we've done in qualifying could be about to come undone. So currently, the team want me to go on to intermediate tyres for the whole race. Now obviously that's just a strategy right now because the tyres will last that long. By the looks of things, it is going to stop raining at some point. At that point, we're probably going to go on to the medium tyres. It depends when it stops raining, I suppose. But the medium tyres are probably going to be the best strategy to go for, I would imagine. Maybe the soft tyres if we can leave it a little bit later. But intermediate to start this race off for the first wet race of the season, actually. It's quite exciting. So here we are on the front row of the grid. 5 lights ahead of us. Here we go. They're out. And away we go. Verstappen gets an incredible start alongside us. And he's already up into the lead. The AI gets such good starts in this game. And there's not much we can do about it. We try and go around the outside of him. We can't get the move done there. And actually, we've had a warning for collision with Verstappen. Butler has now taken us as well in the wet conditions. This is really not the race start we wanted. We're going to try and go up the inside of Butler. And maybe Verstappen instead as we bang wheels with him. We go up the inside and do we get the move done on him there? That was some real late braking from me. I'm not quite sure. I think the AI are braking way too early. I brake quite late there, to be fair. And I've braked quite late there as well. And it's not really paid off as Verstappen gets better traction. Has a bit of contact with us as we try and stay on the track. He's coming down the inside, although we've just got ahead of him a little bit there. It means we have to brake quite early going into this next corner. And we're all out of shape for it, really, as Verstappen is right on our tail, looking to try and take the lead of this race from us. But for now, we stay in the lead here in a wet Austria. Hopefully, we're going to stay in the lead for the rest of the race as well. But that was a good start for us, I think. I mean, it wasn't the best start when we got overtaken on the first corner and things like that by 2 cars. But we've got back in the lead. It's been a good opening lap for us. And now I think we can just push on for the next few laps. Try and eke out a bit of a gap between us and Verstappen. Wait for the track to dry out. Get on the soft tyres. And it should, from there on in, be relatively simple. As I almost overcook it going to the corner there. I really felt a slide there. But the AI seems to be braking pretty early for these corners. Whereas I'm taking it a bit later. And already we're building up a bit of a gap to the cars behind us. Already a 1.4 second gap to Verstappen, although if I keep taking corners like that, that gap's not going to last very long. Now as we come to the end of lap 2, Butler has got ahead of Verstappen. Actually, Charles Leclerc's got ahead of Verstappen now, so I think actually the issue was it was Verstappen who wasn't particularly fast in the wet, but now he's been overtaken. Butler is right back on our tails. The gap of 1.4 seconds is down to less than a second now. He's catching up to us. Charles Leclerc's catching up to us, and actually Verstappen is falling back the field, which is good for us because we don't want our teammate to challenge us. But at the same time, if we want to be challenging for the Constructors' Championship, we need Verstappen to pull his weight and do well. So really, we need him to start gaining some place because at the moment he's under threat from Vettel as well. Now, Leclerc, by the way, has made some gaps and jumps at the field. I think he was starting off in 5th, so he's done quite well. As I keep taking that corner really late. I can't get it right. That could be a bit of a downfall for us later on in today's race as we try and find the slightly drier path on this track to keep some grip. But we have got a bit of a danger of a Mercedes and a Ferrari on our tail. Now we are just about to cross the line and get the fastest lap of the race, but considering that Butler and Leclerc are catching us, there we go. Leclerc has now got the fastest lap of the race and they are still gaining on us a little bit. Leclerc's really gained on Butler as well. I think once Leclerc gets past Butler, you can also see, once we break for this corner, you'll see as well, I can just see in the distance that it looks like Vettel has just got ahead of Verstappen. Actually, Verstappen's been overtaken by Hamilton as well. So Verstappen is having a real crap race at the moment. I've just got a radio message as well saying that someone's got an issue with their car. It could actually be Verstappen who's got the issue with his car. Perhaps actually the contact we had with him on the opening lap has actually meant that we've damaged his car and now he's falling down the field because of that. Perhaps it's our fault that actually Verstappen's not doing particularly well. Looking at our car, we've not got any damage, so we've escaped that alright, but maybe it is Verstappen who's got the damage on his front wing and that's why he's dropping down the field. We've made a bit of ground on Leclerc this lap as well, and we've got 2 purple sectors. Are we going to get a fastest lap of the race? No, we seem to have lost all our speed in the 3rd sector, which you hate to see.
Okay, I think the track will be drying out quite soon. Mind you don't burn out your tyres.
So the engineer just told us that the track is going to be drying out soon. I'm not quite sure how soon he means by that, as we go very wide on that corner there, which isn't particularly good. I'm not sure if he's going to give us a call to come to the pits or not, or we have to decide. But right now, I can still see all the drops of rain coming down the screen and things like that. So I feel like the intermediate tyres are still the tyre of choice at the moment, as we really can't get that corner right at all. So if we look at the timing boards, we've just gone over Sector 2. There's a 2-second gap to us and Charles Leclerc, and that's actually closing. He's gaining ground on us because it was about 2.5 seconds not that long ago. So Charles Leclerc is gaining ground on us. The rain has now stopped as well, and now it's going to be a case of judging how dry the track is and how quickly it's going to dry out. I think if we're going to make any changes in the next lap or so, I think we need to be swapping onto the medium tyres to get to the end of the race safely. I think there is a bit of a dry part on the track coming out now. We'll keep an eye on the lap time, because if we keep losing a lot of time per lap, that's probably a sign that we need to start swapping the tyre. But you can see on the track there is a dry line coming now, but we're not that much slower than our best lap, only 0.01 seconds down, so maybe it's not quite time to change yet. But Leclerc is right on our tail now. That's a worry. To be fair, I've just set a purple Sector 2 there as well. I got the fastest lap on the previous lap. I've now just set a purple Sector 2, so actually we're not going to be coming in anytime soon for a tyre change, I don't think. So we're going to be well over halfway through the race when we do swap to the dry tyres, which makes you think actually we go to the soft tyres. We could probably make the soft tyres last to the end of the race, I reckon, as we pick up the fastest lap of the race there. Personally though, I think I've managed this race incredibly well. To say that we're still in the lead of the race, considering the changing conditions and things like that, I'm pretty pleased. So we're down half a second on that lap actually, so maybe we are now starting to get to the point where we start to think about moving on to the slick tyres. Oh, I'm so scared to make the call when to go on to the dry tyre. I think it could be now, you know. I really think it could be now to go on to the dry tyres. No, I'm staying out for one more lap. What's Charles Leclerc doing? He's staying out, but the pit man has just told us to go on to a new strategy. Pit on this lap for soft tyres. He's thinking the same as me. We're going on to the soft tyres then for this lap. Oh, already it's just set up there. Max Verstappen is coming to the pits a lap earlier than we are. Now, he's obviously got the virtue of being behind us by quite some distance to make that decision. We're going to go up to the rich mix, hopefully for the rest of the race now. If we go into the pits now, I think pretty much every car, apart from us and Charles Leclerc, went into the pits there. It does say, though, if we go into the pits, we will rejoin in second place, and obviously that will be behind Charles Leclerc, but he must be coming to pit as well. Obviously, me and him have been caught out a little bit by this issue, so I think the other cars, they're actually going to really catch up to us now, because they've got an extra lap on the soft tyres, whereas we've gone round on intermediate still, and it's not worked out for us as I take a little trip on the grass there. So, into the pits we go on this lap. Hopefully it pays off for us. Hopefully we've not lost too much time to the cars behind us. Hopefully we come out ahead of Charles Leclerc and it works out well for us. So as we go into box, you can see the Ferrari pit crew also out. Charles Leclerc behind us. No one blocking us though. We get out ahead of Charles Leclerc. He might have taken a bit more time in the pits than we did actually. That's quite good. Classic Romain Grosjean out of the session. No real surprise there. I don't think anyone's surprised by that. But by looks of things, we are coming out ahead of Sebastian Vettel, and is he going to get the jump done on his teammate behind us? You can see on the top left there, Vettel does get ahead of Charles Leclerc. So really, Vettel pitting a lap before Charles Leclerc was massively beneficial to him. He's managed to jump his teammate there, which is obviously fantastic for him. Us, on the other hand, we managed to just get out ahead of them. We've made this work for us. If we had been a bit further back or hadn't been quite as fast in our first sector on our first section of the race, on our first stint on the intermediate tyres, we probably would have been caught out there by the undercut. Thankfully, we haven't been. Thankfully, it's only Charles Leclerc that's been caught out, and hopefully Vettel will stay ahead of him because Charles Leclerc is quite far ahead of us in the driver's standings. So if Vettel gets ahead of Charles Leclerc and stays there, that's going to help us out massively. Right, Lewis Hamilton's just got the fastest lap of the race with a 1:12.1. This is our time now to try and get the fastest lap of the race. Of course, we get an extra point for the fastest lap of the race, which is really important. An extra point is going to help us massively in the championship. So we need to be getting these fast laps. Verstappen just set a 1:11.2, which is rapid. Hopefully, we've got that kind of potential too, and we can set that kind of lap. We've just gone purple in Sector 1 as well, and hopefully we're going to go purple in Sector 2, as we seem to be taking this corner a lot better now. We've got dry track and dry tyres on, which is really helpful for us, especially looking for the fastest lap of the race. We're going to go purple in Sector 2, I reckon. As we cross over it, we are purple. As we come around the final corner then, on lap 13, looking for the fastest lap of the race. Are we going to get it? We get it with a 1:10.4, nearly 2 seconds faster than what Hamilton did, nearly a second faster than what Verstappen did. We are absolutely flying on this track. I tell you what, boys, I think we're about to get another fastest lap of the race. We're going to cross the line, this time in a 1:09.22. We are rapid. We've now eked out a 6-second lead over Charles Leclerc, who's got back ahead of Sebastian Vettel as well. So that's not too good for us, but a 6-second lead nearly as we get another purple first sector. We are loving Austria right now. What a track this is. What a race it is. What a car it is. And as we come across the line once again for another fastest lap. Oh, yeah, we do get the fastest lap there. I thought we weren't going to get it as I saw it go green, but we got the fastest lap there. Down to the 1:08 now, which is really impressive. That's qualifying time for some cars on the grid. It does ask the question, though, do we start to up the difficulty a little bit? Now, we won in Canada from pole position in quite a dominant race there. We struggled a little bit in France, actually, so that kind of makes me think perhaps we don't up the difficulty, but we've really dominated here in Austria. We're currently on 85 difficulty. Perhaps we now start to put it up towards 90. Perhaps that's the next step to make things a little bit more competitive again. Because I don't want to be winning races like this every single week, because that could be a little bit boring, obviously. So maybe we start to up the difficulty just a little bit. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And as we enter the final lap of the race now, we're not challenging for fastest laps anymore as the tyres start to go off, and we've had to drop the fuel mix down a little bit as well. But we are absolutely miles ahead of those Ferraris, 9 seconds ahead of them. As long as we don't crash on this lap, we are going to win the Austrian Grand Prix in absolute style, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm really pleased with the way we've raced this race. I think we've done phenomenally well. And as we come round the final few turns of Austria, I tell you what, I am absolutely delighted. Right then, let's get right up against the pit wall. Where are my teammates coming to tell me how good I am? We actually nearly ran out of fuel there. I don't know if you heard the engine change or not, but we nearly ran out of fuel right at the end of that. So good job we crossed the line just like that at the end of the race. We've won it by a good 9-10 seconds. You love to see it. And once again, we are up there on the podium alongside both Ferraris, which we need to think about. Now, I think we could have had contact with our teammate. It should be 2 Red Bulls up there, really. But I think the contact we had with our teammate on the opening lap could have damaged his front wing enough for him to drop back down the grid, which I feel quite bad about. But at the same time, we need to beat him. We need to focus on our races. And without watching the replay back, it was definitely his fault, as he drops down to 7th in today's race. It's not very good for Red Bull. It's actually awful for Red Bull. Lucas Weber for Renault does very well. It's a good day for Ferrari, not the best day for Mercedes, but Max Verstappen, could he be doing a Pierre Gasly? Will we see a mid-season swap for Alexander Albon and Max Verstappen? We'll have to wait and see. And I tell you what, that race win has done wonders for our World Championship position. We're now up to 3rd in the drivers' standings, which is absolutely fantastic. We are 40 points behind Leclerc and 50 points behind Hamilton, but that's only 2 race wins away. if Hamilton crashes out of 2 races and we win both races, we are right on his doorstep. So if we keep pushing like this, we could be in for a title decider at the end of the season. In terms of the constructors though, we are still lagging behind, 93 points behind, which is a bit better than we were last time. But because of the poor race from Max Verstappen, it's not been quite as beneficial to us as it could have been. Hopefully we'll start to build on this for the next few races, but I'm very, very pleased with how we're doing in the driver standings. And I'll tell you what else you love to see. We have now won our rivalry with Devon Butler there, 31 points to 25 points. That's fantastic. We're leading Verstappen in our rivalry once again. That's really good as well. I'm not quite sure what winning a rivalry actually does, if I'm honest with you. I really have no idea if it makes much of a difference at all, but we've won it, so I'm pretty happy with that. And as always, before we finish today's episode, we need to look at research and development. Looking at the vehicle performance stats here, we are really good in aerodynamics, quite good in the chassis, but we're still quite far down in powertrain in comparison. So although apparently we do have the best engine in the game now, I feel like we still need to improve it a little bit alongside the chassis. So we've got 1,181 points to spend. How much are these upgrades costing? 704. So we can only realistically actually do one upgrade in between episodes. By looks of things, that leads to something quite good, energy store cells, but that also, I reckon we go for spark plugs, that leads to a few more different upgrades down the line. So we'll go for spark plugs for now. That's one we're going to go for. I don't think with 477 we're going to have much room for any more upgrades. In fact, we don't. We have no more room for upgrades and any other stuff. Any durability ones at all? No, they're 650. So no, only one upgrade coming in for next race, but it should be a good one. And so that is that. We have won in Austria, which is absolutely fantastic. Next up, we have got our home Grand Prix in Great Britain, Silverstone. It's probably my favourite race of the season because it's the British one. I'll see you there. Have a good one. Goodbye.